That's exciting. We've got Elizabeth. So I'm looking through the romper room mirror. We've got Elizabeth. We've got Laura. Yay! So your besties are in the house. A couple of your besties. I think you've probably many besties. Did I hit the go live button? Did I do that, babe?
We're on.
Oh, we're on. Yay. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Kat Udair, psychic empath and psychic wrangler. Welcome to Third Eye Salon. And I've got a new tagline that I would like to get your feedback on. So welcome to Third Eye Salon, where we drop the veils of illusion in order to take a deep, fresh look at reality. Today, we are welcoming back ET experiencer and host of the new series, Beyond CE-5 TV, our first and former co-host. It's our own Jillian Leonard. The crowds go wild. Welcome back, Jillian. Jillian, I called you Julian. We are so happy that you are here. We are so happy that you've returned to your nest and that you're hanging out with us today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to see you guys, for sure.
Yeah, it's like old home week, so it's fantastic. I've got us in Brady Bunch View, and I'm going to toss the mic to Miss Linda. I know that she's also super pumped to have Jillian back in the hizzy.
I am so excited. It's like old times. I've missed you. I love having you here. I am Linda, and I will be your chat host. And as always, my policy is play nice or get out, because we don't have room or tolerance for anything less than love. So let's have fun and have great discussions and ask questions. Please like, share, and subscribe so that people can find us, and check out our podcast on Spotify. Well, actually just about everywhere now. So wherever you go, check to find us there and like us there, because it helps with those algorithms too. And you know, that's how the world goes. So also, if you'd like to work with any of us, check the boxes down below. We've got links on how to work with any of us. And as always, thank you for not only the coffees, but the other donations that help keep this show going. We really appreciate your support. And those links are below as well. And if you haven't done it already, please join our Facebook group at Third Eye Salon. And with that, Kat, I'm going to throw it back to you.
I'll catch it. We will say hello to psychic medium and ET artist channeler Jason Atkins. I'm a little miffed that you don't have one of your amazing portraits up right next to you, but how are you, sir? Oh, Linda's showing one. Okay, wait. Let me put it back on speaker view and Linda show and talk for a moment.
This is my beautiful, beautiful portrait that I received from Jason. And Jason, tell me how, and it is how to pronounce her name.
I've been pronouncing it Kaula.
Kaula. This is Kaula, everyone. Love Kaula.
My favorite part is the scarf. The
scarf. I know. Girl after my own heart.
So, Jason, how are you? Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, Linda.
It's incredible. Yeah. So that's the work that Jason does, and he blessed Linda, myself, and Miss Angela with portraits just because he's got a big, juicy, beautiful heart, and he blessed us all. So, how are you doing, sir?
And if Sylvia's watching, I put it in the mail yesterday, Sylvia. You should get it by Tuesday.
Also, Jason gives an explanation when he creates a portrait. So yes. It's not just he's telling you about the being that he's painting for you. Highly recommend.
He gives you a download, right, Linda?
Yeah.
And
I'm still going through it.
Right? I have to reread mine. This is mine. I'm gonna move the camera because that will cause chaos. But this is the one he did for me. 2 full pages, and I'm like, it was just so beautiful. It was so healing. So welcome, Jason. Obviously, we love the Dickens out of you.
And everybody does not always get to 2 pages. Like, it can be a paragraph, it can be just words, like keywords.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
That's awesome.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to get to meet Jillian and kind of learn more about her and her story.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you two connected. I just love you all so much. Also stinking much. All right, so I have got us back into speaker view because I want to let you know that if you are just happy to be here, and if you are curious about what Jillian is doing, and any reason at all to give us a thumbs up, we want you to do that. Find a reason to give us a thumbs up, because like Miss Linda's saying, it really helps with the algorithms and it helps expand the community, because we don't do ads, because I hate ads. Who wants ads? You don't want ads. I don't want ads. So give us a thumbs up. All right, now I'm going to give you a little lowdown on Jillian. This is going to be her bio. So Jillian Leonard is an ET experiencer, contact advocate, and has studied mediumship for 3 years through professional teacher in Canada, aka Sean Williams. We love Sean, not Williams, Sean Leonard. Sean Leonard. Who's Sean Williams? I don't know. Sean Leonard, we love you. Thank you for just being with the vibe of bringing Jillian to us. Having grown up without much sense of the paranormal, her interest began to peak in 2011 when a string of paranormal experiences started happening in her life. In 2017, she had an abrupt Kundalini Awakening, which we talked about in her first show, which I will link down below. I'll remember to do that, and I'll link that down below, which resulted in a sudden opening of psychic abilities, having no initial knowledge of this process. The experience also immediately opened Jillian up to the reality of extraterrestrial presence via meditation, clairvoyant experiences, psychic senses, and more. Mr. Jason, you got to get your mic under control, my friend.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Navigating her awakening since then, Jillian created a Facebook group called CE-5 New Brunswick, which stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. New Brunswick stands for New Brunswick. CE-5 is human initiated contact. She has now recently created a YouTube channel beyond CE-5 TV, meant to bring people together and discuss all things ET and interdimensionally related, in order for there to be a space of reference for people waking up to this part of reality. These topics range from UFO sightings, direct contact experiences, all the way to navigating psychic experiences and clearing out your own energetic system, with so much in between. All right, and with that, Miss Jillian, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. This is great.
I'm so excited. You can just tell I'm like tripping over myself with excitement. So, Miss Jillian, I was wondering, kind of give us a little bit. We always like to do this. We like to dig into people's pasts for good reason. And let us know who you were growing up, and then kind of bring this up to the 2011 when things started popping open for you. But let us know who you were as a little girl. What was your life growing up in Canada, eh? Also, look at me. I'm wearing this representing Canada. I got the plaid. I feel very Canadian appropriate today.
Yeah, no, I mean, growing up, it was pretty typical childhood. I had a good childhood. I was brought up religious. So I spent, every Sunday going to church. I went to a religious school from grade 1 to grade 5, and then exit that school into a public school. And just no real reference for the paranormal. I mean, my whole upbringing was just, going out with my friends, hanging out, doing normal kid things. And then in 2011, my grandfather passed away. So after he passed, I had this experience where I was having a dream. And in the dream, I could see it was a white room, which now, whenever I have a dream visitation, it happens within that same white room. So during that dream, there was a podium and there was a phone ringing, and I answered the phone, and I could hear static, and I couldn't make out what was on the other side. And all of a sudden I heard his voice come through and say, "I got through." And that was like, it doesn't seem like much, but it started to snowball into being able to pick up energies. And
now that was in 2011 that happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels like an initiation.
Right. And then I just started getting really interested into the paranormal, watching the shows, learning about the equipment. I wouldn't recommend it, but I used a Ouija board in 2012, and that brought up a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of crazy experiences, anywhere from, I started hearing knocking on the walls and knocking on the front door. Nobody would be there. I was seeing light flashes in the apartment. Crazy stuff. All the door
Now,
handles in the apartment went loose one day, and it was wild. So ever since then, it's just been on this journey of the paranormal. It fascinates me so much.
well, now I want to talk to, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's zoom in there because, you know, like you see that on the shows, right? Where people are flicking around with a Ouija board, all of a sudden shizzle goes haywire. And so was it like the classic blunders of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but Ouija boards are fun? Or like, what was your approach to using a Ouija board?
So first, what you said, I don't know what I'm doing. It sounds fun. And I used it and all hell broke loose and yeah.
I'm going to open a portal in the house. Okay. Like, you know, people do this. All right, go ahead and speak to more of that. How did you resolve that for yourself? What was the next journey in getting that under control?
I moved out in 2015. It never really stopped. And actually
left the ghosts there. Bye, guys.
In 2014, that building burned down. Yeah. I don't think it had anything to do with the board. Like it was something to do.
I'm sure you don't. You don't want to take responsibility for destroying an entire building, Jillian.
Yeah, no, it was that kind of opened my eyes to not so much be against them, but to learn, you know, protection methods and how to protect yourself and your surroundings, your own energy. And that kind of snowballed into, you know, more of the smarter way to do things.
Well, so let's go into that. Where did you journey from 2011 to 2017 when the ET stuff started kicking in? What was kind of, I mean, just your highlight reel of those trajectories of what you remember in terms of your kind of coming into your own versus being that naive person, which we all do that at some point, right? We do these things where we're just exploring because it's interesting. And how did that evolve forward for you?
So from 2011 to 2017, it was just pretty much going down the paranormal path. You know, like I said, researching this stuff, continuing to watch the shows, continuing to learn about the equipment. And then in 2017, I had a very chaotic experience in my life, which triggered a Kundalini Awakening. And as soon as that happened, you know, when I say paranormal, it was ghosts, it was spirits and ghosts. It was nothing to do with ETs. And then as soon as that Kundalini Awakening happened, I started to get clairvoyant images that basically blast open your psychic abilities for a lot of people who experience it. And as soon as that happened, I was having interface with ETs during meditation. I was having crazy experiences. I had one experience in 2017 where there were 3 ETs that came through a wall in my home. And just, it hasn't stopped really. I've gone through spurts of you know, calm periods of time, but for the most part, there's usually something wacky going on.
I'm just wanting to thread this through because we talked about your Kundalini experience in detail in our first show with you, but I think it's kind of important to let people know like what you experienced. Just if you don't mind giving people a recap who the first time they're meeting you as, you know, the host of Beyond CE-5 TV. I can get it. What was significant with you in that time of your life? And just kind of, if you can unpack it for us a little bit so people understand what you went through.
Yeah, so at that time, I was in a really bad relationship. It was a severe narcissist. He had a lot of mental health issues that kicked up a lot of chaos in my life. And I mean chaos to the point where, you know, police were involved quite often during the end of it. I had family flying down from other provinces to help me deal with this. So without getting into too much detail of it, I mean, it was the most chaotic time of my life. And then I had this experience where he was going off about something, I don't know, some kind of whatever he had mentally going on, he was going off. And I had enough of listening to him, so I went to lay down and take a nap. And when before that, I was driving home from work. And I had seen a man. So there was a man in his driveway laying on the ground. And that's a good part. I always forget to tell that point. but I feel like it had something to do with triggering that process as well. So there was a man in his driveway laying down. I don't know if he had a heart attack or what. There were people surrounding him. There were people on their cell phones. And when I drove by, this man looked directly at me from on the ground, and his face was beet red, and he put his arm up. And I kept going. And when I got home, going back to how the guy who I was with was acting. So he was just going off about something. And I said, you know what, I've had enough. I'm going to go and take a nap. Like, I don't want to hear you. So I went to lay down. And when I laid down, my ears started ringing extremely hard. Like, I've never experienced something like that before. It wasn't like a tinnitus thing. It was like all the walls were vibrating the sound into my ears. And it was this deafening ring. So I got up from my room and I came down into the living room where he was, and he was still rambling on. And I sat down on the couch, and I just sat there, and I was dumbfounded by this ringing. And all of a sudden I felt almost like a pressure come up my back and through my system. It was more through like my body than up my back, but I could tell that it started at the bottom of my back and it came up through. I could feel it hitting like certain parts of my body, and it was an energy, a very, very strong energy. And then all of a sudden it like came out the top of my head. I could feel it kind of pop and then come out. And as this was happening, like, I was looking around the room, it was, you know, the color was off in the room, everything was brighter. And I just remember sitting there, and he sat beside me, and he was like, what is going on? Like, he could even feel what was going on in my own system just by being near me. And then I had no idea what had happened. Like, I had never heard of Kundalini, I had no idea. So for weeks after that, like, I was getting these sensations within my chakras, which I understand, you know, I didn't even have reference for the chakra system at all. So I was getting these feelings within different parts of my chakras that were like spinning sensations. And again, that same energy coming up, hitting the chakra, spinning, going up, coming down. And while this was going on within that time frame, I decided, like, I didn't know what to do with myself, with dealing with him leaving, dealing with everything that I went through. So I decided I was going to start to meditate. Like, I had heard, you know, good things about meditation, calming your system. So I started to do that. And the first time I ever meditated, I interfaced with an ET. And by interface, I mean, instead of the blackness behind my eyes, I saw an image. And it was, you know, I want to say it was an ET, interdimensional. I don't know. But it was a girl, and she looked a bit younger, and she had the most piercing blue eyes. Like, they were almost hard to look at. They were so piercing. And I was like, what is this? And, you know, like, during this period of time, between the Kundalini and between starting to meditate, I was constantly like, my energetic system, my psyche, everything was just bombarded with this knowing that ETs were somehow connected with what was going on. So then having all of that, you know, running through for that time until I started to meditate, and then I started to interface with this ET. And it was from that point on, every time I went into a meditation, I would either go into a meditation OBE that was ET related. I would see craft in my, you know, I would be meditating, and all of a sudden in my visual, I would be outside in my yard, and it would be like as the same as it was at that time. Like, the weather was the same, the sun was in the same spot, and I would see my yard, but I would see ET craft hovering above the homes. And it just snowballed from there. And there's so many stories, but that's the gist of it.
Wow. I'm getting so much like information just pouring into my head while you're talking. However, I would like Miss Linda or Mr. Jason to cross-examine you and your experience about your experience.
So the question that always comes up, not just with me, but everyone that hears your story, is what the stink? How can you do this like off of the very first time? How do you know what is the magic sauce that you have?
What the stink?
what's the stink? What is this?
I think I don't know. I don't know. I think I have a better understanding of the way, when those visuals come in, it's almost like an in-between sleep and awake state. Like
Mhm.
it's I don't know.
Do you think you are able to hit that? Which one is it? The alpha state? I'm trying to remember which the different states are. That
I think
state easier
I feel
than
like
maybe
theta.
the
It's theta.
average person?
maybe whatever state it is, I do hit it. It's not every single time that I hit it, but it's the majority. And I don't know why, I get visuals from it and not everybody does. I have no idea.
So talk to people and explain what that state feels like, because there's a point when I do something where I almost physically feel like I just settle down, like
Right.
my energy just drops and
Right.
becomes solid. What does it feel like for you?
It feels like my body kind of goes to sleep, but my mind is awake. Like I'm in no way sleeping with my mind, but it's like I can't feel my body other than occasionally I can feel it tingling. But it doesn't feel the same. Like it doesn't feel like my normal, my arms and legs. It's almost like a heavy cloud feeling, if that makes sense.
Like your body is a heavy
And
cloud.
do you normally sit when you meditate, or do you normally lie down?
I lie down and I usually put something over my eyes to block out any light source. That's a big key, actually. Yeah, just to block everything out. Like if I have any kind of light coming into my eyes, it's harder to get to that state.
Jason.
I think we can all use as many tips as possible. And how do you keep from falling asleep?
Great question. Oh, she's
she's
sneezing. Give her a moment.
I know. Whenever I do that, and I try to do it when I'm lying down, I'm just out cold within minutes. So
I think a lot of us have
very
that.
frustrating for me.
I'm meditating.
Yeah, I'm gonna meta.
I'm gonna meta sleep.
I don't even get the Tate out. Right.
No, it is hard. Like sometimes it is hard to stay awake during it, but I mean, I have instances where I do fall asleep, but the majority of the time, I don't know how I do it, but I don't. I tend to keep myself awake.
Do you do what type of meditations? Do you do guided meditations? Do you do meditating, focusing on your breath? What are your techniques that you use?
I typically do guided. Usually I do meditations by a woman named Lillian Eden. She has a YouTube channel. She's wonderful. Tons of different categories of meditations within her channel. She works a lot with sound, like beats, binaural beats, sound waves. And for some reason, hers really, really helped to get me into that state. So when I started to meditate, I started using hers, and I've been using them ever since for the most part.
Can you say your name again? Lillian
Eden.
Eden.
I got it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Angel. Appreciate that. So Miss Linda will be dropping that into the chat. Thank you so much. And we'll toss the mic to Mr. Jason while Linda does that.
Yeah, because I don't know if I have a question more so as a kind of like a comment or maybe a suspicion, right? So like when Linda was asking, what gives you the special sauce, right? Like how are you able to immediately connect? Well, and I guess I'm kind of putting my experience in there also. Like I think when you have a history, because you were having all this paranormal, like ghost spirit activity. So when you've had a couple of years, like, and you're interacting, like you are consciously interacting with those energies, right? Like we are getting information from those sources. It only makes sense that the next step, because ultimately it's all energy, right? Like it's all energy. So like for me, like when they communicate, it's no different than if an animal comes through, like it's all the same. Right. So I'm thinking that sometimes can help or has something to do with people being able to immediately tap into those galactic sources. is because they're already used to engaging in energetic communication.
Right. It could be. I mean, this started like after the Kundalini and I was doing the interface. I wasn't really connecting on any type of level to spirits consciously. Now, I like I could pick up on energy and I could kind of, I was in that zone, but to be able to say, oh, I picked up on this spirit or I picked up on that, it it wasn't really anything for me at the time. But I feel like maybe there's part of my system that does pick up on that kind of energy quicker than typically so. Yeah.
When you were interacting with the energies, you said it was this, the younger woman with blue eyes. Right. Is it always her, or are there different ones that come through?
Tons of different ones. Tons. Yeah. It's weird. Like, sometimes it will be the classic looking Zeta looking ET. Sometimes it will be just a being that I couldn't even like fathom in my imagination. Right. There was one time it was a being and it had like, it looked like a man, and it was all the fat in the space was really concave, like it had no fat at all. And it was kind of looking down like this, and it had a beak on it with a hood up. Like, it's just random to me, very, very random looking different beings.
Do you notice the same ones coming back? Like, you're like, oh, I recognize this. I've talked to you before.
Not really. It's usually scattered. Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple that are more of the Zeta looking ones that I do like, they'll look similar to each other, but it's not so much of a, oh, I've seen this one in this meditation and now it's coming back. Yeah.
It's interesting. Do you want to say something else, Linda, or Jason? Make sure you get in there. You're all right.
I'm busy answering a question that it's okay. One that I'll pose to you guys as well, of whether you think people in this realm, just in general, if there's more women or men or more equal who are experiencers.
I feel like it would be equal. What do you think, Jason, as an experiencer?
I have a theory. I think ultimately, I think it is 50-50, but typically you have a lot of, and I think it's female energy that's just more receptive, right? Like that's why it's called women's intuition and not men's intuition. Even though men are intuitive, but I have a theory that like just the feminine energy in general. So whether that's, you're a woman, a gay man, or somebody that just resonates, you're sensitive, right? You have empathy. You could be the brawny man, but, I'm going to pull over to the side of the road and rescue this little kitten that's abandoned. That feminine type energy, I think is more receptive. So if you hold a resonance to that energy versus like the super dominant masculine, let me go shoot Bambi type, right? That resonates more.
Yeah, I like that. I have to agree.
Is it okay if I give you a little reflection on what and you can tell me if you think this is true or not? Yeah. I want to talk to you post-show. I mean, I need to sit down and talk to you. There's some stuff coming through that I'll say for later. But my sense of with this Kundalini Awakening is that you saw this man who's laying on the ground, and he was in a position of surrender. He was in a position of, I give up. I've done everything. I give up. I'm extending my arm out for support. And the same, I'm getting chills. That like with your situation with the man in your life was like, I give up. I surrender. I have done everything I can. I'm laying down. I'm giving up. And in that giving up, you opened up for the energy to shift in, and for this, what I feel like is this ET female counterpart to you. She's in your fractal family. She's like, oh, she's open. And so it was like her opportunity to come in and start to merge with you in a way that she'd been waiting for, but it was perfect timing. Like you did it within perfect timing is what I'm getting. Does that resonate?
Oh yeah, that does. Oh, I never really, I mean, telling the story and thinking back on it, I know that that man had a part of it, or going through, you
He
know,
was a
seeing.
symbol of surrender. He was a symbol of lay down, give up. If you want to go forward, lay down and give up. Stop trying to work and make it work out.
Right. No, I totally agree. Totally agree. And I never really thought of it before that way. Like maybe it was, you know, the Kundalini was obviously happening, that process to wake me up, but I never really thought about the ET aspect
It
where it
was an
could have been
opening.
that opportunity to
She
come
got
in.
in. Yeah,
Right.
sorry. I'm like tuning into it. And so it's like, I'm just seeing her like come in. It's like, she's able to come in on this side when
Right.
you finally were like, I'm open.
Right. No, oh my God, I love that. Yeah, we need
and
to talk after.
I also want to give my reflection on that, because what I was actually seeing when that happened was that, and it's happened with me before, when you are in that zone, when you are stepping into that, or you're connecting at that level, there are individuals that can see you at that level. They see
Right.
that light. And I think he was seeing that light in you. He was seeing that. And there was some, you know, in that state, he literally could have been wondering if you were an angel walking by. He could see the light. He could see a different level of light with you as you went by.
He's reaching out like to her, to like the man on this road was reaching out to her as an angel to be like, oh, I love that.
Yeah, that he saw you at a different, because when you're in that stage where he was in that critical space of whatever was happening with him, you know, that shifts you from removing a lot of the blocks that you have, and you can see things sometimes that you wouldn't normally see.
That is true. I didn't really think about that. And I mean, I always thought it was weird that he just a car going by, you know, to reach out. I don't know, but to reach out like that to my car when I think there were about 6 people around him. I don't know.
You were the angelic ambulance. It's the angelic ambulance. Let me hop in. Let me get a ride.
Yeah, that there was an energy that he was feeling passing him. That was new, that was different.
Right.
Or familiar.
On that,
you know, that like a beyond the now familiar.
Right. Right. Yeah, that I feel that a little bit.
Well, I want to hop in and talk about your new show, Beyond CE-5 TV, but I also want to tip our hat to Sean Leonard, because you've been doing psychic mediumship. Here you're hanging out with 3 psychics, Old Home Week. So what has psychic mediumship training been like with the beautiful, amazing, warm, and wonderful Sean Leonard?
It's been great. I did 3 years of it. I did my last year. I think it ended about 6 months ago. So it was amazing. I met so many people within Canada that we all can talk about this stuff. We all can relate with each other. We can all practice on each other. And I feel very blessed to have had the opportunity to do this studying with so many people who are actually physically near me. So many people I can reach out to. Sean is a great teacher too.
Yeah, he's just very warm and very wonderful. We had Sean on the show a couple years back, and the reason that Sean came onto the show was because Jillian, and he loved Jillian so much that he was willing to come onto our little show when we were just starting off on our first year, and he just really blessed us with his insights, his presence. Oh, we should link that below too. So I'll put both Sean's info link down to a show, and Jillian's first show with us as a guest down below too. So I wanted to know, like, how has the psychic training impacted you with your ET experience? Like, did it give you some tools to navigate and say, okay, I want to initiate this kind of experience, I have these tools to lean on? I'm wondering how the training has impacted your ET experiences.
Well, I find with connecting to ETs and connecting to spirit, it's very, very similar. So it more so gave me the opportunity to understand the way that I was doing it like to have his teachings kind of gave a lot of guidance in terms of validation of how I was connecting to ETs and how I was, it wasn't ET based at all, the course, but it really, for me, it tied everything together with the clairvoyant experiences, with the clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognizant. All of that really helped me understand that how I was connecting was actually valid within myself. I mean, I knew it was. I can't, to make this shit up. Like I can think of a lot of better ways to go about things, but yeah, no, it was very validating.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, that's it. No, that's basically it. Like within the ties of the ET communication within that course, it helped me learn about my system a lot better, instead of just having these experiences and trying to hold on and latch on to how is this happening? Like, how can I find a reference for this particular part of how I'm connecting in this particular part? Like I said, the spirit communication and the ET is very, very, very similar. So it was so beneficial for me to do that for myself.
I think it's important for people to hear that spirit communication and ET communication are like parallel, right next to each other. And I think that will help some people who are struggling, being like, well, mediumship, okay, but ET stuff, that must be something different. And for people to realize that the streams run right next to each other can be a point of liberation. And I think you're such a good role model. I mean, I think in a way, I feel like, like beyond CE-5 TV, you're able to bring in both the practical, like as the person, as the herald of this show, where you're bringing the show to the world. It's like you're able to balance the ET stuff with mediumship, like the practical with the experiential, and it makes you this great, nice, balanced grounding cord for people to come in and be safe on either side. It just feels really lovely.
Well, thank you. And that's a big part of why I wanted to do it too. I mean, I feel like I do have a substantial amount of knowledge about this and experience, and I just wanted it to be a place where people, when a lot of times when you start connecting to ETs, people think it's just, seeing the UFOs up in the air, and it goes so much further than that. I mean, if you come into direct contact, it can create, a clearing of your system. And by that clearing, it can really open up these psychic abilities as well. So I wanted a place where people could come and speak about all of that stuff, so that when people were starting to open up to these ET presence, their abilities, or be a place that they could look, and it would all be within one system, as opposed to looking at this YouTube channel or trying to find something about this and trying to piece it together the way that I did. I wanted to create a platform where it could all be condensed into one place, and there would be help for it within that system.
Yeah, and that's when you created because you broke out of the chrysalis of Third Eye Salon, as co-hosts are often want to do, and you went on to create the CE-5 group on Facebook, and that was an initiation as well, I'm sure, in terms of learning how to navigate a group and what that means. Because I know you tried a couple other groups and were like, ooh, if I say anything about pleiadians, everyone's just like, oh, even if you like, even if it's nonsensical, there's just people who glom onto keywords. Right. And I'm wondering if you can tell us about your transition from being our lovely co-hostess to being someone who runs a group.
Well, it was, I did create the group while I was doing Third Eye Salon. And it, after I left the show, my focus was more into the 3D. Like I went in, both sides were pushed out for me. I went back to work. I was on parental leave at the time. And then we had the pandemic and I went back to work. And it was just, I was immersed into the 3D. Like none of this stuff was really on my radar anymore for quite a period of time. And I feel like that was such an important part of my journey at that time, was to have that time frame to really relax my inner self in order for when this stuff came up and when I got back into it, I was more grounded within the 3D and able to hone these things more into the 3D grounded self that I am now, as opposed to at that time just having, you know, so many experiences and doing the Third Eye Salon and doing the show. And then I can't really see myself successfully the way that I am now, trying to hone that in without that grounding period that I went through.
That makes
And then,
total sense.
so I had the group, and it was even to the point where, you know, we would interact and we would post and stuff, but it was really, really kind of getting quiet. And I started to question, like, the why am I doing this? Like, why am I into the contact? And the why started coming up and bubbling up. And then all of a sudden it just, there was a member of the group named Mario who made a post one day, and he goes, oh, would anyone be interested in going to do a group CE-5 at a location, collaborating with the paranormal research investigation team? And as soon as he made that post, the whole group came up again. It came to surface again. So we ended up going to do that. It was so much fun. And where I am now with it, like, it just, I mean, we get really cold months in Canada over the
Right.
winter.
Yes, you do. Yes,
What
you
are
do.
we going to do through these cold months? And then I just sent a message one day and I said, would anyone be interested in doing, you know, videos for the group, just about contact, about ETs, anything? And it snowballed from there. And just that little idea somehow came to this, and here I am sitting here, and
What have you learned as a group facilitator? Like, what transition for you? Because I know there's been some nuggets for you to share along the way as for facilitating a group.
What have I learned facilitating it? Just to kind of use my own guidance, to trust it, I guess. Not be looking for guidance from, you know, outside of my own source. I think it's been really big for bringing out my inner guidance and trusting it, and just doing, you know, if I have an idea of something to do, instead of sitting on it, just doing it and taking that chance and seeing if it works and seeing if it doesn't. And yeah.
That's a true leader, honestly. Being willing to show up, be vulnerable, fall forward in front of people, get yourself dusted off and say, we're going to do it again. And to do that time and again, I mean, that's a hallmark of a true leader, honestly. A leader that's operating out of service.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think this keeps coming back up, but it's important to mention, because you had created a group where it was about extraterrestrials, but you noticed that I want to say there's like extraterrestrial fan kids where they'll glom onto anything. And this isn't judgment. I think this is part of the process. This is part of our evolution. Everyone goes through this in a way. So there's no judgment. But there's a difference between people who are like just kind of immersing themselves in all the like sparkly, shiny ET stuff versus the rubber hits the road, you know, or the ship hits the sky, and you're having a genuine interface. And I'm just wondering, maybe you can speak to the difference of your experience in that.
Yeah, I did create a group, a Starseed group at one point, and I did not keep it up for long. It was more, it turned out to be more based on, you know, am I connected to ETs? Well, where am I from? What am I? And it, you know, we are all going through incarnations. I believe, this is my belief, and only coming from my own filter and my own system, but I believe that we are from everywhere. You know, it's not so, to me, it's not as important to know what or who I'm connected to as it is to get out, you know, do this stuff, do this research, and base it more on just contact in general, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. more nitty-gritty, more
Right.
tactile, more investigatory, which is also something that you like to do. You like to go on ghost hunts, ghost helps, maybe, like where you'd like to go experience haunted locations and do research there. That's something, I mean, I think you should talk to your paranormal research stuff as well.
Yeah, we haven't, like, since I joined the team, we haven't gone out and done any events, but it's this stuff. I mean, like I said, it started with the
What team
fascination.
is this? What team did you join? Tell us about that.
It's called the Hub City Paranormal Research. So they are, when Mario had created this event to go to a place called Fort Beausejour to do a CE-5 event, he had collaborated with the Hub City Paranormal Research, and when they came in, they brought in their equipment. So when we did this CE-5 event, they were using paranormal equipment within the event, and I think it was maybe 2 or 3 days before the event, we had gotten onto a group chat together, and they had invited me onto the team as a paranormal researcher, and that's how that came up.
Okay, cool. That's cool, because I know that you've had a history of watching, like me too, like watching shows, learning from people who are doing shows about what's it mean to investigate something practically as well as psychically, and balancing those two out. I'm always annoyed when there's shows that don't have a psychic and they're just like, don't get me started. Because I'm always just like, get a psychic and find out. Get a psychic and ask. Like, you guys are just like tripping over your own feet, with all the love and respect. Everyone's got their levels that they have to operate in. Jason, did you have any thoughts, reflections?
I do have a question about the CE-5 contact. Like, I downloaded the app. You'd be amazed at how many people are on it, but nobody ever communicates.
Right.
So I'm wondering what your experience was like.
So I downloaded the app as well. And there were some of us that would kind of reach out to each other, but it wasn't enough. Like, first of all, I wasn't getting notifications of messages on there. I don't know if that's a glitch or if it was just something on my end. But within the app, I did connect with some people who ended up joining my group. Like, not to say my group is the thing for here, but I think it's more of a place where people have chosen to come together as opposed to just communicating on the app. But I do love that app. I mean, I like the tones, all of the different things that you can do on it. You can do crop circle tones, which Mario did at the CE-5 event. And there's tons of meditations on there. It's a great app to use for CE-5, but in terms of connecting with people, it just wasn't really hitting the mark the way that I felt like I needed in order to connect.
So this app is just called CE-5 Contact. Is that the app?
I think
it's
so.
The Stephen Greer. It's Stephen Greer's app.
Okay, just so people can find that. That's cool. I didn't know that existed. That's amazing. There's an app for CE-5 Contact.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Welcome to the new world.
Did you have any experiences when you did the group one?
There were some experiences. I didn't really have. There was one point where I thought I was seeing light anomaly in the sky, but it was a very, very, very cloudy night. Like, you could hardly see anything through the clouds. And Mario had his laser and he put it up, and no one really. There were a couple of people who said, "Oh, maybe I do see some lights," but it didn't really turn into anything. Now, there were, I think, 2 members of the group that Mario said had approached him afterwards. And it was either the crop circle tones or the actual meditation, they had seen something in the sky, and it was going in a sporadic pattern, I believe. I'll have to ask them the details again. But I had left. So my friend and I had left the site. I think it was around 11 p.m., maybe 11:30. And the Hub City Paranormal Research team stayed back, and Mario did as well. And they were saying that, so Fort Beausejour, where we were, it's a bunch of, there's all these little 4 areas. It was for war. So they had almost like cave tunnels and hills, rolling hills. So they said in one area, there was a red light above one of the I don't know if it's a shack. I don't know how to describe it, but it's some kind of formation, rock formation. And there was a red light above it or in it that they were seeing. And when they went to investigate it, it was gone. And there was nobody else there. There were no other light sources. The only light sources that we had there were flashlights, headlamps. That's it. So that was weird. That was weird. And I think we're all just kind of looking forward to the warmer months and getting back out and like having some real good sessions to see if we can come up with anything else.
Canada is wicked cold.
Oh
my God, I was checking out the temperatures in Montreal like during the winter season, and I was like, that's death. That's death. I'm like, this is why they have underground cities. Like you go to Montreal and do everything underground, so that way you don't die from exposure because it's so intense. So hardy Canadians, oh my God, more power to you. Is something else you're gonna say, Mr. Jason?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. The thought that comes to me, Jillian, is that this first one was more focused on the community. It was like it was important for the community to come together, and they wanted the star seeds to come together as a physical community, and then let's expand and work on CE-5 contact. But let's see you show us what it looks like to be a community, and then you can expand your community to the greater collective, is what I'm feeling.
Yeah, and I like that too. And I think part of the ET aspect of it is they don't want to come down and freak people out. And we had sometimes the larger the group that there is, it can be less of a chance that you'll have a sighting or have an experience, because if there's a handful of people, maybe a couple of people within that group that are just really, really terrified of this, but curious, but terrified.
Yeah.
Chances are, I believe, they're not going to come down and traumatize those people. So in my opinion, the smaller group, because when Mario had facilitated this or started, the idea of it, there were people interested and people up for doing it, but we had no idea that the amount of people that showed up were going to show up.
How many showed up?
Oh, I think it was 26 or 28 by the end of it, which is quite big for a CE-5 event. And it was also the first date that it was scheduled for, we had a hurricane. So this was even a rescheduled date. And it just, people kept showing up, and it was fun. It was great. And it was a great time to be able to connect with people. But like I said, sometimes it's better if it's within a smaller group.
Yeah, incubation. It's like it's easier to incubate something in a smaller collective and then let it grow.
Right.
And I think also like they understand our intent. So if your intent is give me a show, they're not going to. But if you're like honestly like, hey, I'm trying to build relationships, right? Mm-hmm. Like I want to have an experience. It's like, hey, let's get this ball rolling for the next 100 years of Earth life.
Right.
I think they absolutely understand our intent when we go out and do something like that.
100%. Totally agree with that. And that can block it too. Like Jason was saying, that can it can just kind of throw, if there's ill intent or not even ill intent, but like he said, like trying to your reason for going to it is to see a show, as opposed to have that contact for more of a resourceful reason for the humanity or your community or whatever it is. It can they're not here to put on a play for us. They're not here to entertain us. They're here for much bigger reasons than that, in my opinion. So they're
Absolutely. Did you want to say something, Miss Linda? And if not, that's okay. I just saw you
myself.
Yeah, there you go.
So I completely agree that the times that I had my experiences, I I was just in awe. I was just in a great place and just feeling connected already. And I think that might be part of that. And with the second one, it literally was hovered over the local bar called the Drinking Dog. And I'm standing outside waiting for my cousin to show up, and I'm pointing at it and pointing it out to people, and they couldn't see it.
Wow.
Like it was like, oh, it's a helicopter. Oh, it's a cloud. Oh, it's, but they could not see what my cousin and I could see. And he was being driven over to meet me, and they were watching it and I was watching it. But people were looking at me like I was crazy because I was looking at a cloud above the Drinking Dog.
And it could have been, they could have intentionally cloaked.
Right. So that can also be, I think, part of what happens during the events is you may get some people that see and other people that don't.
Right.
Because they can have that ability.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Just tuning into so much with that. Let's talk about we'll get into your first show, which you just launched with the amazing Sue Walker, who is such a teacher. She's such a conduit. What was your experience like with your very first show talking to Sue Walker?
That was a lot of fun. Sue is amazing. I love her to death.
Same.
Anytime. I mean, she's been on your shows, I don't know, 5, 6 more?
Like about 3 times, yes.
Hey,
Not enough.
Anytime listening to her talk, it's something different. Like it's always, I mean, it's within the same, but it's always something new, something for your mind to latch on to. And it was just, I don't know, it felt like just sitting there in a living room speaking to her. Like it wasn't nerve-wracking. It wasn't, and she's such a good explainer. Like anything that pops into her head, she's very, very good at getting out and explaining it I mean, it can be, really different sounding stuff than what someone is typically used to hearing. But the way she explains it, you just sit there and you're like, oh yeah, I get that. I get it. And it was a great experience. And I'm looking forward to talking to her again and again and again, hopefully.
Right. You just want to like hang out with her and just be like and kick back.
Yeah.
And I'll point out you've got a picture, I think it's Tilcum, that you have a little picture of. That's one of Sue's first drawings that she did back when she was, beginning to sketch the ETs and also Sasquatch kin. And Jillian won that. It's so cool. Like Jillian actually won that, and now from Sue Walker in one of our events, and then now she's like interviews Sue Walker. I just love the full circles that are happening. Am I right? Is that Tilcum? Am I getting that right?
I think so. I think it is. It's written on the back, but I don't want to take it down in case.
No, don't.
And it's funny too, because do you see the ET on top?
Yeah, on top.
That's the one you got me.
People probably can't see it, but there's a little blue disc on top of the blue Buddha lady. It's up there, and that was something I saw at Kelly Rainbow Butterflies event for Sasquatch, and I was like, oh, that's Jillian's.
Yeah, no, I love it. Love it. They can probably see it now.
Yeah.
From Kat, and awesome.
I'm just gonna bask in the love for a moment. Let's talk then a little bit also about Mr. Mario, because I know that he helped you launch it. He's now kind of receded to take care of other things in life that he's got to take care of. But I just want to maybe talk about Mario's contributions into the show. Yeah, no,
Mario's been awesome. He
or Mario.
Right. Mario. When I first, when I had this idea, it was just, I don't know, an idea that popped into my head. And I put it out there, and he was like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. And he's been great at helping get this off the ground. Like he's done so much. He did the editing for the first, for Sue's video and one that's coming out next week. yeah, he's been great with it, and I wish him, the best in whatever's going on. And yeah.
Yeah. So he may or may not return, but Jillian is the herald of the show. And are you open to collaboration? What is it that you're open to for this show? Tell us kind of your vision.
I am open to collaboration. I'm open to, it would be fun to get guest co-hosts coming on. I do have a friend, Danielle, who's going to co-host the next show. I'm totally open to that. I'm totally open to doing them on my own too. It's just, I have no boundaries for it.
Well, you will.
Yeah.
Those will come.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you might want to think about putting together like a co-host form for people to fill out, like, so you can say, oh, are you interested in being a co-host? Well, I'm open to talking to you about it. I'm not going to sign anything in agreement, but like, tell me why you're interested. Tell me this, tell me that. And I'll let you know if that's a fit for the show. So that way people feel open to reaching out to you, but there's also an understanding that if it's not a fit, I have to go with what my truth is, that it's not a fit, but I love you and please be part of the community. So that, you know what I mean?
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Maybe I'll put that out in the group and see what we can come up with. Yeah.
So it's just, we're going to chat, you and I, Miss Jillian. There's just like a bunch of shizzle that's coming through that I want to share with you. So let's talk a little bit about, so you've recorded your second show. Is that with the gun show, also known as Tyler Koala?
Yeah, that was with Tyler.
Okay.
That was fun. And it was totally, what I like about Sue's and Tyler's is they were so different from each other. Like total different topics that came up, went down a completely different rabbit hole, and really excited to launch that one next week. And
I'm like, tell us more. What did you guys talk about? Tell us give us some little teasers. Give us some teasers.
Well, we went into star seeds a bit, and where we are now as a collective on the planet, in terms of contact with ETs. We talked about just other things. You'll have to watch.
Okay, well, you won't give too much away. Okay. And one thing that you did talk about with Sue as well was because Sue's also like so connected to the Sasquatch. And I'm wondering, have you had any Sasquatch experiences in your meditations or in the ET contact arena? What's your experience with the forest people?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. And I would be, that's something that I don't think of either. And I think it would be really, really cool to start connecting with the Sasquatch.
You know what I can see you doing is having a CE-5 retreat that's in the woods. And so you're having a little bit of a gathering and you're having some casual hangout time. And then you get together in the evening and you do the contact stuff. And then the evening, you're just kind of open to the friendly forest family and however that shows up. I can see you collaborating. I'm kind of just getting downloads. So I don't mean to seize control here, but it's just, I'm seeing you being able to do collaborations with people and do a Sasquatch CE-5 community contact experience.
Right.
In the woods of beautiful Canada. So just be open to that sort of collaboration. I'm feeling a collaboration coming in with that. I won't go into a reading, but I can feel that with you and for you, by God. Let's see. And then are there any other, I'll make sure Mr. Linda, we're gender fluid here on the show. We're gender fluid. Miss Linda, Jason, any other thoughts and reflections before I truck along?
I do have a question as far as your new show goes. Who is your ultimate dream guest? Like, who's that one person that if it could be, that you just want to have?
I would really, really like to talk to Mary Rodwell.
Knew it.
Really?
Yes.
I would totally like to talk to her. I love her so much. When I started, her content was one of the first categories of information that I came across when I was starting to connect with the ETs. So I liked it for that, for what it was at the time. And then my daughter was actually diagnosed with ADHD a couple of years ago, and Mary does so much content about, you know, star children and the ADHD and how it's, I don't want to go into specifics with it because I don't really know how she words it, but like something always dialed into higher dimensions with the
That's
ADHD,
it.
as opposed to it being, you know, a potentially crippling issue.
Right.
Yeah, so I feel
It's a
like having
gift.
a child with ADHD and being in this field, like I could talk to her for forever. I think I would.
So Mary,
Yeah.
if you're watching,
Well, I mean, literally just email her and say, you know, she'll just email her and let her know what you're doing and say, you know, I'm friends with the Third Eye Salon people. I've
Right.
loved you from afar. You know, just let her know that you're excited and that you have an ADHD daughter, and that like you'd like to have maybe a conversation dedicated to helping kids with starseed children with ADHD. How do you support them? How do you best, you know, because Linda went through that, and she went through it as being something to shut down, which most of us do, right? And so to flip that around and say, how can you support, you know, these ADHD, always dialed into higher dimension kids? Hop in, Linda.
Yeah, I think that would be so helpful for people. And I can see her jumping on that. I was going to ask you when you're going to have Sean Leonard on.
Oh, well, you know what? Sean was going to come on this month. We had kind of chit-chatted about it a bit. And then within his schedule, I think he's out taping now for his show. But I'm going to reach out to him again when he comes back, because I feel like Sean, you know, from what I understand from doing the course with him, he's starting to open up to the ET stuff a bit and getting more interested in it. And I think it would be fun to kind of pick his brain about it. I mean, I know personally most of the ET stuff that he, you know, he's experienced, but to have him out there and talking about it, I think would be really cool.
You know, I'm seeing this trifecta of like the indigenous spirit realm, the forest people, and ET. Like there's this trifecta where understanding that like the indigenous people, like the ETs are kin. They're just like, oh yeah, our star families, our star nations. There's this complete through line. And I think getting him in communication, you know, maybe with somebody like Mike Patterson, who's a Sasquatch guy. He's a Canadian too. Oh my God, this is a Canadian trifecta. So it could be those two guys with you. And so you're the ET rep. You're the ET rep, right? And then we've got Mr. Sasquatch man, and then we've got the spirit native indigenous spirit man.
Right.
Oh, that's a good trifecta. They would do it too. All right, I can just feel. I'm just tuning into that for you.
Just remind Sean how interconnected the Hopi and the Navajo are with ETs.
Yeah, I will.
They're cousins. They're just cousins to them.
Right. Just writing this down. It would be fun to do a collaboration with Sean.
Girl, they'll do it. They'll do it. Yeah. You're so freaking adorable. You're so sweet. You're so lovable. They would do it in a heartbeat. And it would be great for people to bring that trifecta together. So you're the one that's going to herald that in. I keep being this world herald for you. Like you're the herald. It's beautiful. Well, you know, I think what we're going to do, it's 11:11 my time, 11:11. So that's your confirmation, Miss Jillian. I think we're going to close up the show at 11:30 my time, just because I know that you've got, you know, you need to take care of yourself. The beautiful children have brought a little bug into the house. Oh, yay, that's exciting. So you need to take care of yourself physically, and I can feel that you need to take a nap. So like you need to recover. So let's focus in on these last 15 minutes and get all of our final questions. Oh, there's also questions from the live stream people who are just loving you up. Please let us know. And then so the next question I got for you is, well, what do you want? Okay, one thing is, what has surprised you, or what have, in the interviews you've done so far, I know you've only done 2, but what has surprised you? Are there any moments in the interviews that you were like, oh, hey, that's a takeaway?
I think nothing really jumps out as surprising me. I've just been having a really fun time talking to them. You know, it surprises me how much fun, I guess, that it's been actually doing them as opposed to just planning and thinking about it and, you know, planning, writing it all out, just being able to actually talk to them and sit there in that time in that space. And it's something I've been really enjoying.
What I'm feeling is that there's a surprise with the confirmation. Like there's been a lot of things that you're like, oh, I thought about that, or oh, I considered that, and they're kind of confirming things that you've tapped into. Is that accurate?
Yeah. With Sue, like there was something she was talking about, Betty and Bart. What did Mario bring up?
Betty and Barney Hill, with them that being a sasquatch or being a pnti, a part of the pnti. Yes, you talk about it.
Yeah. So Mario brought up a question with Sue about, I can't remember how he worded it, but it was about Betty and Barney Hill. The ETs that they were connected with, he asked if they could have been tied with the pnti. And Sue was confirming it, saying about the Zeta and how it was interconnected, and something with, I'm gonna have to go back and watch my own show. Like I can't remember exactly what she framed it, but I know at that point it was like, wow, that makes sense. Yeah, there was a big moment with that actually.
Yeah, I remember watching that because that was news to me too, where it's not the pnti that she's connected to, but it was a pnti,
Right.
Pnti faction, what the right word is, but that was the pnti coming in, which makes sense because you think about how curious they are and how they don't understand things. Like they didn't understand how teeth could come out of the mouth. They're like, oh, do all humans, their teeth just come out of the mouth? Like there was really this like investigatory experience. So yeah, and it is worth going through and watching because there's content in that interview that I've not heard Sue say before. So I highly recommend for people to check that out. We do have Christiana K asks, has she had any contacts with elementals, fairies, and nature spirits?
Personally, I wouldn't say, not my meditations. There was actually, I go to this place called Ascension Healing in my city, and it's like a meditation center, and it has like the guy plays gongs and all these instruments while you're doing these group meditations, and he has different theme nights. Like some nights he has arcturian, some nights dragon energy, some nights pleiadian, hathor. So he did this one night of the fairy realm, so I went to that, and it's the energy that came from it for about 2 days. It was this really like this playful energy. Like it felt like everything was it almost felt like within the next 2 days I was in a children's book. Like it's weird to try to explain it. Like my reality was like living out the pages of a children's book is the energy that came from it. Anyway, so I think it was the next day I was outside going to the car, and I looked at, there's a tree in my yard, and it had just rained, and I looked at the tree and it had like a golden trim around it. Like the sun wasn't behind it, but it did have a golden weird light trim. Right. And I feel like that was connected to the fairy meditation that I had gone to. But in terms of, with my own meditations at home and my interface and my clairvoyant experiences, nothing within elementals or fairies so far that I have recognized as such. Now, that being said, a lot of the visuals and the beings that I see, I don't recognize from anything anyway. So I think it would be a good practice to set an intention to connect with those and see what comes up.
I love that. I'm resonating with that. What's Ascension? It's Ascension City. What is that? Is that a YouTube channel?
No, it's called Ascension Healing. It's an actual place in my city.
Oh, it's in your city.
Yeah.
Oh,
so you go in there. It's like this little center, and you go in there, and he has all of these gongs lined up against the wall, planetary gongs. He's got singing bowls, flutes, like anything. It's a Tom Kenyon vibe of what he
Uh-huh.
does.
Mhm.
And then he channels in different collectives. And when you're doing these meditations, like it's because it's such a tiny space, all of these instruments just vibrate through the walls and through the floorboards and into your own energy system. So that's where I go, where he does the different themes. Like I said, sometimes he does dragon energy, sometimes he does different ET collectives, and yeah.
I need to, would you connect me with him post show, just because I feel like he's somebody that we should have on the show.
Yeah.
I would love to bring him on and talk about his work.
Yeah. I think he would be good to have
Great.
on. Yeah.
Excellent. Linda?
It'd be cool to have Greg Temmer take his glass harmonica up there and
Oh,
play
wow.
that in that
Can you imagine
location where
transporting?
he's just, man, that would be awesome.
That's a flashback moment for me and Linda. There's this beautiful, what's it called? What's it called?
Harmonica.
Harmonica. It's an amazing device
Oh
that was
my
created
gosh.
back in the day, and it's transformational.
Yeah,
It'll
I
transport
saw
you.
some of the CDs from that. Yeah, it's
Okay.
unbelievable that it's a 3-chord bowls that spin that Benjamin Franklin invented.
Nice.
And the history, the psychologist of the time would use it to get his clients into the perfect meditative state, although they didn't call it meditation. His name was Mesmer, so people were mesmerized. And that's what that can do. So if you ever get the chance to hear someone really good do glass harmonica, no H.
Harmonica.
It's spinning crystal bowls that you play. Harmonica.
Okay. I've never
I'll
heard
see if
of
I can get permission to see if I can put one of the recordings in our group.
Oh,
That
great.
would be cool.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be cool. Because the vibe, when he recorded it, my whole job was to transfer the frequency onto the recording.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was my job, and to describe it and see if I was connecting with what was being channeled through him.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, please,
good
if we can
stuff.
share that, that'd be great. I remember that.
Yeah.
I was flashing back to our time in Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Jason, did you want to hop in? Did you have anything, sir?
I had a question I was going to ask, and then I started choking on spit, and I've totally
Oh.
forgotten.
Well, that's honest. It'll come back. It'll come back. I wanted to ask you then, Miss Jillian, as we come into the last 10 minutes here. What do you want people to take away from CE-5 TV? What do you want them to take away from their experiences with CE-5 TV?
Well, like I had mentioned before, I want it to be a space where people can feel comfortable and not judged to talk about anything contact related, like whether it's psychic abilities, whether it's, direct contact from ETs, anything. I want people to be able to come into that space, do these shows, watch these shows, and leave with some kind of peace about the entire field in general, and not feel, it's so easy to come across content about this, and some of it's very matter of fact, the way that it's put out, and this is the way it is, and this is, everything else is against it. I just want it to be a place where people can come, bring anything to the table, and then take what they want to take and leave what they want to leave, and let it go.
That's so spot on. That's so beautiful. Okay, and then let me ask you this. What can people contact you about? What can they, because I know that you're open. So what can people contact you about, and how can they contact you? And yes, Jillian's contact information is down below, but I want you to speak to that if you would.
People can contact me about anything they want with contact related, questions, concerns. I've had people reach out to me saying, I've been having this type of experience. I don't know if it's just in my head or if it's something going on or what it is. And I try to look at it, you know, as exciting as contact can sound and it can seem, it's very, very important to have at least somewhat of a level of skepticism within that, because you don't, you know, looking at any situation, you can almost spin anything into anything with the psyche. And it's good for people to look at things in a healthy way and, you know, try to debunk in whatever way that they can before deciding that something's up. So people, you know, if they think that they're having experiences and they just want to talk about it, if they want references from me of content that I've come across, because I have a ton of reference for a lot of this stuff. They want opinions either from myself or from someone I know, they can do that as well. People can get a hold of me through Facebook. I have an email, CE5newbrunswick at gmail, or no, beyond CE5TV at gmail.com. And I have a Facebook group, CE5 New Brunswick. So there's a lot of methods to be able to contact me and reach out if you so choose.
Beautiful. Thank you. And we do have a question right now, actually. So Charlene Williams. Hello, Charlene. I'm going to be contacting you later today about BT Dubs. Charlene asks, any advice to family that might be against you or me rather than doing CE5 TV? So, or CE5 TV, CE5. So, so if you have people who are like against it, this is what I feel she's asking, is any advice to say to those family members who might be standing up against your wanting to be involved in this?
As far as advice, I mean, this is not for everybody. You know, you are going to have people who are looking at this and saying, oh my God, like, what are you doing? Why are you inviting these people? What are you doing opening up like this? And, you know, I would say, you know, if someone's speaking against the actual methods and what you're doing, just, you know, everyone has their own points of anything that they're doing within any field. And I would say for me, I would just explain, you know, to the best of my ability, the reasons behind what I'm doing, and then leave it. I don't go out and try to convince someone who is absolutely against this to come onto my side. That's fine. If someone wants to have another opinion about contact, about ETs, about CE-5, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But I am not going to sit and debate with them.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things I posted was, you know, find out what their concerns are. I mean, it could be a concern of your safety going out with people you don't know, or it could be some people think they're demons, right?
Right.
It could be. So understanding why they're concerned would be a good place to start, but going at it with the understanding that I don't need you to, I don't need to have your permission or for you to understand why I'm doing this. I love you and I hope you'll appreciate and love me just as I am. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Finally
bye.
had to get there.
You said that way nicer than I would have.
What'd you say, Jason?
Oh, go ahead, she said that way nicer. She said it way nicer than I would have.
Yeah. Or you could do what a friend of mine does and say, some more of your business.
I like a little sass.
A little sass. But yeah, I mean, just again, it took me a long time to get to that place.
Mm-hmm.
And be totally fine being the odd sister out.
Right.
Yeah. You're the special sister in.
I've always been the special sister.
The special, like star special. Jason, did you find your question?
No, it's in there somewhere.
Okay. It's all good.
Everywhere but the tip of my tongue. Everywhere but the tip of my tongue.
It's hovering over your left sphere. All right. Well, with that, Miss Jillian, from your heart to ours, just tuning into your beautiful, gorgeous, radiant, life-giving heart, what would you like to share from your heart to our audience before we head out?
I would just, I love being in this field and doing what I'm doing. And for me, this is my path. And I'm just so fortunate for my path to be to such a degree where I can, have these connections and do what I'm doing and build this type of platform. And it's, all I want to do in my lifetime is help with this process, help with this contact, help in whatever way, shape, and form that I can. And that's my intention of it. There's nothing else to it. And I feel so blessed that I'm able to do it to the degree that I'm doing, and to have, having met you, having met Linda, doing the show, just having some things almost handed to me in order to plow through this path that I'm on. It's great. And I'm excited. Yeah. And it's, like I said, it's a blessing, and it's great to have met people. Linda, do you have anything to say about it?
I just am so, part of when Kat and I were creating the group, well, Kat created the group and I tagged along, to be honest. Our conversation was really that we wanted to create a launching pad. We wanted to create a place where people could explore as they were developing, and not have fear. And that in our wildest dreams, we were this launching pad for, I won't say new talent, old souls popping out, right? These lights in the grid.
Right.
We're that launching place. So I'm so excited to see you on that journey, and know that we knew you when, and that we played a little part in that. And Jason's next, by the way. And
It's true.
When he wants, he's just going to explode, and it's on his time. And it will be comfortable and perfect, and that we will have more to come. And that really just, it makes me so happy. We had Angela graduated, Jillian graduated. So it's just beautiful, and I'm so excited to see your show, and just wish you all the best, because I know you're going to bring so much to the conversation, because you have always done that here, and I hope you come back on ours again.
Oh, for sure. Thank you.
Nicely said. Yes, when Linda and I co-created the show, Linda was a huge, important anchor in the show happening. The idea was that it was a seesaw of like going back and forth, that we were sending love back and forth, and it's going to go up and it was going to go out and it was going to expand. And you are our testimony that intention of collaboration and co-creation comes to fruition. So you are our little girl all grown up, but we always have your bedroom just the way you left it whenever you want to come back for a visit. And I also want people to know that Jillian's been through a damn lot. And if you want to find out about the things that we haven't talked about, the intense loss in her life that accompanied her rebirth, watch that first show with her, because we haven't touched into it, but she's gone through huge, significant loss. It wasn't just like, here's your butterfly wings, go fly. She had to go through a ton. So that's important to remember in our awakening, is that we have to go through all of our shadow. We have to go through all of our shizzle. We have to do our surrender work in order to come into the power of who we truly are. It's part and parcel. Surrender and sovereignty are flip sides of the same coin. And with that cheery thought, I'm going to toss the mic to Miss Linda. I'll put us into Brady Bunch view, and we'll do our gratitudes.
As always, thank you, everybody, for the amazing discussions, being willing to support each other in the conversation. You are the best live stream chatters. I thank you. And let's continue the conversation in our Facebook group. Make sure that you check out the links below and check out Jillian's new podcast, her new TV show. And also hit that like, share button if you have not. Share this with friends. Share Jillian's new show with your friends. Jason, thank you again for being such a great part of our show. I love your energy, and you actually bring a lot of grounding to our show. And I don't know if you realize that. So thank you.
You're gonna make me blush.
And Kat, thank you for making this whole thing possible. And with that, who is our guest next week?
Thank you. Couldn't do without you, kitten. So our guest next week is Guy Stephen Needler. So now he's from the UK. This is what I freaking love about this guy, about this guy, is that he is somebody through meditation, had an experience of being able to connect to the infinite oneness and to the source that created this universe, going up through the levels and layers. It's like the fractal universe that we all talk about, like a lot of us talk about. He got to experience that through meditation and be able to anchor that information and bring it down into book form, but also just his vibration. And so when we talk about these things with ETs, I talk about celestial beings, all of this, as it comes together and as it, comes manifest into human form, he was able to meditate his way up the ladder and teach others to do that. So you can have these experiences. So you don't have to have an NDE. You don't have to have something traumatic and horrific happen to you in order to be able to turn that on and connect in. So I'm super stoked with him. We had a great pre-show chat. He's just warm and wonderful. He's from England, and so he will be joining us next week. And I'm extremely grateful and happy to have him on. All right, everybody. With that, we will say sayonara. We'll say goodbye, and thank you so much for being here with us today. Thanks for sharing the love, playing in the love, and please do check out Beyond CE5 TV with the lovely Jillian Leonard. All right, we love y'all. Bye.
Bye.